This video is sponsored by Dream Screen. Elevate your viewing experience with a responsive LED backlighting for any HDMI TV. It uses universal HDMI connection, it's pretty easy to set up, and it reduces digital eye strain. It also has a Bluetooth-enabled app for Android and iOS. It works from TVs from 32 inches all the way up to 80 inches. You can pick one up right now and it's ready to ship from the link down below, which is dreamscreentv.com. Dreamscreen TV. Elevate your viewing experience. This video was brought to you by bnhphoto.com. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kevin the Tech Ninja, and this computer is called Black Shadow. We're gonna do a budget 480 build. Our main game was Battlefield 1, but we did check out a few newer games too. We also set our budget at $600. Now, no company gave us compensation for parts. However, we were able to borrow from B&H Photo because they're the sponsor of this build. Now, the prices we mentioned in the video were at the best price at the time of getting the parts about a month ago. Now let's talk about what we used. The case is the DIY PC MA01-R Black SPCC Micro ATX Mini Tower. This one was for $23 on sale and is normally a $40 case. This is a very simple case. You have your one rear 80mm fan, then you have the one in the front, which is a 120 LED fan. You also have a spot for an additional 120mm side fan. On the front, you have your one USB 3.0 and your two 2.0s, and also your audio in and out. The case doesn't allow much for wire management, and the hard disk SSD cage is a bit flimsy. But for $23, you can't go wrong with something like this. Just make sure you have something to wipe it down, as this case does get fingerprints on it like no other. The motherboard is an Asus H110M115 Micro ATX board. It has two slots for DDR4, and it does support M2 for faster SSD speeds if that's something you'll look to get into. And also, this board is pretty cheap at $44. Now, speaking of DDR RAM, the RAM that we're using is Kingston's HyperX Fury Black 8GB. We've used this RAM a lot in other budget builds, and for good reason. It actually overclocks itself to the highest frequency from 2133 up to 2666, which makes it some versatile RAM, and you can find it for sub $50. The processor on board is Intel's Core i3-6100, which is plenty strong enough for gaming while keeping it under a decent budget. It was on a shell shocker for $100. Storage is where we can make some changes, but we did go with an SSD. A lot of people rather use a hard disk for a budget, so this part's up to you, but we went with the OCZ VX500 for only $100 for 256GB. And of course, we have the GPU, which is RX480 8GB. Now, powering up everything, we have EVGA's 500W 80+ power supply, and it's $40 right now. It's enough to juice up this computer, and it's just a little bit just in case you want to upgrade something a little later on. So let's get to the benchmarks. The 1440p resolution is actually widescreen. Battlefield 1 Ultra setting is using DirectX 12 setting. We saw 61 frames per second on average and 73 max in 1080p. In the 1440p, we averaged 47 and a max of 60. A game like Battlefield, you know things can get crazy really fast. So if you're in a game mode like Rush, where everything is concentrated in one spot, that's where our FPS started to dip. Mafia 3, this game overall had issues, but we wanted to test it anyways. We made sure to install the FPS patch, which allowed for 60 frames per second, because out of the box the game didn't enable 60 frames per second. We saw 32 FPS on 1080p for average and 38 for max. On 1440p, we saw an average of 31 frames per second and a max of 45. Yes, I know it makes no sense to me either, but we ran the numbers over and over and over again, and it just really shows how crappy of a game that Mafia 3 is on PC. It's actually horrible. Shadow Warrior 2. We averaged 78 frames per second and 103 max on 1080p, and averaged 45 and 51 max on 1440. Forza Horizon 3, we tested the game during off-road race with 12 cars to capture the worst case scenario, and it fared pretty well. 78 frames per second on average and 103 on the max for 1080, and 1440p gave us 45 and 51. So there it is. This is Black Shadow. You can buy it right now using the links below. If you're new to my channel, guys, every month I do a new computer build trying to accomplish a different goal each time. If you like my computer builds, check out the links down below to see my other builds, and also click on the cards here. Anyways, guys, I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja. If you liked the video, hit subscribe, leave a comment, all that stuff, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.